Well, we're off to a hell of a start. I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. Motherbird, good to see you. Sweet Liberty, how are you? Caratish, good to see you. Joanne Shepard, glad you're here. Paula Penley, what's up? Hey, Kestrel, good to see you. Archie's mom's here. Caitlin, what's happening? Roberta, there you are. Glad that you're here. Hey, Nicola, Blessed to Crochet's here. How are you, Mary? Jennifer Minton, good to see you. Glad that you are here. It is allegedly Monday. It really is. Hello, Andrea, how are you? Nurturing, I find natural. I love that. Hey, Toby Spirosty. Caroline in Canada is here. Kimberly White. Anka, Yvette, good to see you. Kathy, you doing all right? Lori Ellington is here. Anne from Massachusetts. Monica Larimore, Carol O. Galen, good to see you. Rachel, Russ Allen, at work but listening. Dig it, dig it. Laura Rodney, Sweet Liberty, Lynn Sanity, Samantha. If you didn't see Night Yard last night, you should go back and watch it. It was a good one. Gamer Jackie, how are you? Glad that you are here. We're going to catch up on a lot of stuff because there's a lot going on and a whole lot of stuff to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about is not Diddy related, and that's got to make you happy. Hey, Anka, good to see you. Hey, Rona Cooley, I'm glad you're here. And on and on. Been waiting for the stream. Wonder my thoughts on Jay-Z. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go over. We are going to go over my thoughts on Jay-Z. We're also going to go over the fact that a man of interest has been apprehended in Altoona, Pennsylvania. This man of interest goes by the name of Luigi. You got to love the name Luigi. Mangione. Luigi Mangione. Kind of like Chuck. You remember Chuck Mangione? Elaine. Good to see you. Rebel Rowdy. Good one last night. Well, thank you. I had a good time last night. I like going live late night every once in a while. Hamster Heifer, good to see you. You got 7th graders you're teaching? Well, God bless you. That can't be easy. Janet, good to see you. If you've never heard Kathy play, she is an absolute virtuoso. Riley's Human, good to see you. Mayor's Girl, how are you? Blue Waters, Ruby's Mommy. The CEO shooter, correct, Paula Pendley. They have in custody a person of interest. I got news for you. This cat's not a person of interest. This cat had a gun on him. That's right. A pew-pew in his possession. And that pew-pew had a sound suppressor on it. Looked remarkably like the weapon that had been used. Also, in Mr. Mangione's possession, by the way, he's 26 years old, and according to LinkedIn, he works for TrueCar. Hey, Lumen, good to see you. Glad you're here. Sweet Liberty, same with you. Gamer Jackie, all right. Elaine. You know, I'm glad you brought this up. Hey, Emma, yes, found in McDonald's of all places by somebody that's on the ball. Somebody picked up this puppy and said, I recognize this person. This looks just like the guy they're looking for. No offense to the great people in blue at the NYPD, but this person was caught by somebody that just had their snap. Caught by somebody like you, like me. Yep. It absolutely was a ghost pew-pew. Oddly enough, TrueCar. It didn't say True Card. It said TrueCar, C-A-R. I'm not sure what TrueCar is. I started working very quickly on this. But it didn't say card, it said car, TrueCar. Tony Suter, good to see you. Cobra Live Radio, well, thank you. I hope to catch Jaguar in a little bit, but I think I'm going to stick around and do this show first. Yarn Prepper, good to see you. How are ya? Glad you're here. Tony Suter, it is always an honor. Skimble Shanks, never heard that name. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Ruby's Mommy. Maybe I heard it wrong. Very easily could have been me that heard it wrong. But a McDonald's employee reported him, and because of that, we believe we have a strong person of interest, is what was said. Now, I got to be really honest with you, man. This person of interest stuff, he's a person of interest, right? He's identical to the dude that did this, by the way, right? In his possession, he had IDs that looked to be made identically to the fake ID that was used to not only board the Greyhound bus 10 days, 10 days before he came in and did the shooting. It's also the same kind of ID that he used to rent a room when he was in Jersey. Yeah, so he had fake IDs on him. He also had a weapon that looked like the weapon, right? Now, it is not the weapon that they were talking about. This looks to be, as they said, a ghost pew-pew. Now, that can mean a lot of different things. More often than not, what it means is there is not a serial number printed on the weapon. You understand? That's what makes it ghost. This is not hard to do anymore because of things like 3D printers. If you just buy the device to manufacture something on a printer, you can do this. One of the weapons that I was caught with was an AR style weapon that did not have a number on it. It's going to sound really ignorant, but I didn't even know I had it. I bought it in a bunch of other stuff. Hi, Iron Rabbit. Good to see you. And because this thing was in my possession, I got charged with it. I had not looked to see if all of them had serial numbers. I was selling illegal stuff anyway, but I assumed that they had serial numbers. You know, I had said to the guy I bought it from, nothing on this is obliterated. And he said, no, you got my word. And, you know, he could be trusted. He works for the FBI, right? They're not going to lie to you. He also had on him a manifesto. You know what a manifesto is? A manifesto is your journal and your thoughts once you become a bad person. Johnny, good to see you. Cobra Live Radio, how are you? Appreciate the announcement. I love you guys. I really do. So maybe this is actually fairly astute, and we're going to be talking about Jay-Z. Anka says maybe Jay-Z didn't settle because he's afraid of a lot more victims will come forward. But I think he went in the wrong way. I think this will bring definitely more victims forward. What do you think? So quickly, we'll jump ship here real quick and talk about Jay-Z. By the way, I'm going to be talking about Jay-Z for 2 hours today on the Sean Atwood program. I'm going to be going on and doing a 2-hour show on Jay-Z, but let's talk about it real quick. There are a lot of people. Hey, Crucial Flow, good to see you. There are a lot of people that say, you know, Jay-Z is just fighting, man. He's a fighter. He's not taking this. I agree with Anka. I don't think that Jay-Z is just a fighter. I think that this is a situation that Jay-Z knows he's in deep trouble. Deep trouble. Folks, it is alleged that he went to a lot of these parties. There is only one person on planet Earth that Sean Combs will allow to call him Sean Combs. Well, I guess two now, because he's certainly not stopping me. But the only person allowed to call him Sean Combs, other than his mom / aunt / freak partner, is Mr. Sean Carter. Maybe because they have the same name, right? Maybe because they're both Seans, maybe because they're both tycoons, or maybe because they pull trains on underage people after they use chemicals to drug them. Whatever the reason, these guys are really close. And I do mean really, really close. Elaine shares the gift of zero gag reflex. Well, how about that? It works wonders when you're eating really foul stuff. Why does that seem so staged? Like the guy wanted to be caught? Well, I don't think the guy wanted to be caught. But what I will tell you is this. Oh, you're talking about the shooter. I think the shooter thought that he was smarter than he was, right? The shooter did everything right. If this is a ghost piece, it means that he built the weapon or he had somebody build the weapon. He didn't purchase this. That's a good start. It'll also mean that the gun isn't going to be in any kind of a database, right? There are things that this guy did that seem very, very intelligent. It looks to experts as if he was packing less numbers of grains of gunpowder than normal. He was shooting subsonic ammunition for the purpose of making what he did even quieter. That gun thing jamming that they kept saying, it looked like the weapon was jamming. The weapon was probably misfiring because there wasn't enough gas to fully eject the previous shell. He looked very prepared for that. It didn't look like a shock. It looked like he fired, and then he racked the next one and fired and racked the next one, like he anticipated that coming. Somebody who has practiced with subsonic ammunition would be prepared for doing that. That was pretty great. If you missed that, my son eating Stroman with us, he was like, yeah, I'm done. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Can someone please explain what happens if Jay-Z doesn't pay up? Does it then go to trial? Also, in UK Social would be talking to his kids. Does this happen in the US? Yes. If it rises to the level of criminal, yeah, the kids are going to get talked to, guaranteed. Now, at the moment, this is a lawsuit. This is not a crime. I'm not saying it's not a crime. I'm saying it isn't being prosecuted as a crime. As of the moment, this is just somebody suing him for what happened that day. This is the survivors of SA law that allows people to take a litigious action if the statute of limitations is up on the crime part of it. Now, my understanding is, after some research, the statute of limitations on this is not up, which means there is a really good chance, folks, that this might be one of those superseding indictments that my inside source was telling me about. If you remember the show that I did on this, I said, we're looking at least 3 things coming. One of them happens to do with the fact that they were working to try to taint the jurors in this. I mean, not the jurors, but the witnesses. He was reaching out to witnesses. He was obstructing justice. That's one of the charges we know that we're going to be looking at. One of them, allegedly, is going to be an underage individual. And this looks to be an underage individual with a bulletproof story. This story has a lot of details. The distance from the house to where this person had to go to make the phone call, the shape of the driveway, the color of the house. There's a lot of stuff that this person has that's going to make chasing this down a lot easier. I also find it funny. I read the statement from Jay-Z yesterday, and I will finish answering your question, Emma, I promise. But yesterday, I read Jay-Z's statement, and what Jay-Z did not say, and he should have, is, you bumped your mother-loving head. Let me tell you where I was that night. Let me tell you who I was with that night, that this did not happen. And this person get back up. There was none of that. There was none of that. It wasn't really a blanket. It was oh, you want to fight? All right, you picked the right guy. I got a ton of cash. I got good lawyers. I'm not afraid of you. That really was the tenor. The tenor of his speech was, you're a punk. I don't care if you were in the military. Guess what? Yeah, you're not, you're not honorable. You're not a guy that whose word is good or any such crap, right? It was a completely different kind of a deflection. Claudia says, hi, Tommy, just stepped off from watching another one of your shows. Oh, wow. So glad I got here live. What do I think about the Daniel Penny verdict? Unless there's something that I don't know yet, I think that the judge could end up sending this guy to prison by accident. But I think that the judge was trying to get this guy let off, because what he was doing, they were deadlocked. They weren't deadlocked on murder one. They weren't deadlocked on the fact that this guy premeditatedly trying to kill this guy. In my opinion, I think the judge looked at this and threw a life preserver, or is trying to, because the odds of them going, this is premeditated, are pretty thin. The odds of them saying, well, the manslaughter thing, I don't know. It's going to be odd to see how it works out. Kind of like Diddy acted at the beginning of his downfall. I got the smartest audience in the world. Do you understand the point she's making, right? What did Diddy say when the accusations came out? Oh, hell no. This didn't happen. This didn't happen to me, man. I didn't do this, right? No, this wasn't me. These are just people looking for money. I am so sorry about what you saw in that video. I was at the bottom of the barrel, man. That was rock bottom. I felt ashamed of myself that day. I felt ashamed of myself now. 2 days ago, when I lied to you about this, not a shred of shame. But the day it happened, oh, I felt horrible. And I've gotten all kinds of counseling, and yeah. Oh, I could be, Sweet Liberty. I very well could be talking about the wrong case. I'm kind of on a roll. Sorry, folks. So Jay-Z threatened to sue Piers Morgan and Company. Jag has been doing a lot of talking, but Jay-Z hasn't threatened to sue her. You know, I mentioned that last night. Really odd, especially since when going after Piers Morgan, he was going after her. I mean, after him. Why? Because of what Jaguar Wright had said on the show. And then instantly, decided not to take a run at Jag, because Jag is the purveyor of truth when it comes to Sean Carter. Daniel Penny was acquitted. Thank you, Cooter by the Lake. Well, Daniel Perry should have been. Absolutely should have been. I mean, let's be really honest, folks. If you can't live in a world where somebody can come to the aid of somebody and defend people on a subway against a psychopath, I'm sorry that person didn't make it. And I mean that. I don't want to see anybody die because they're making mistakes. But if you're making violent mistakes, the person that comes in and stops you from being violent very often may kill you in the process. Welcome to the world of the alpha male. I'm sorry, it's the truth. That dude sat on there and said, you know what? This is going to go bad for the people in this car. This guy's dangerous. Now, he looked around the car, I promise you, and he thought, of everybody in here, I bet I got the best chance of stopping this fool. If you've got the equipment, there's a pretty good chance that sometime in your life you've been in the same situation. It went poorly for that individual, right? Went poorly for the asshole doing what he was doing, and it went poorly for the gentleman that had to stop it. But make no mistake, what that gentleman did was heroic. And I take no joy in the fact that he killed that guy. I'm not that person. And I'll tell you something else. I take no joy in the fact that the head CEO of this company is dead. And the people that seem to take joy in it, you need to check yourself, man. You need to check yourself. Was he running a company that had done some things that are wrong? You bet. You bet. But if we live in a world where we disagree with somebody and that gives us the right to shoot them or to celebrate when somebody shoots them, I don't want to know you. I'm sorry, I don't. And I understand. I hate insurance companies more than you do. I promise. I promise. The engine that this guy was a huge part of is the reason that there is 1 million dead people from passing away from fent overdoses. I think that those insurance companies have a huge hand in that. They have a huge hand in all of the addiction stuff that went on, and there is a massive problem with how they deny people, what they pay for. They go out of their way to try to screw you. Given, okay, that's a given. It doesn't mean that we should celebrate that person being gunned down. That person has relatives. That person has people that loved him, and it's a tough line of work. Honestly, how do you get that job and not have the world hate you? I'm not making excuses for the guy. I'm not. I promise you. Jay-Z said, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? Well, you might get your wish, bruh. Straight up, you might get your wish. If the statutes of limitations on this isn't up, then what do you think is going to happen? They're going to hand this over to the prosecution. The prosecution will want this case. Why? Well, it's going to destroy P Diddy's opportunity to have a defense. His defense is, hey, we like having sex. 4 or 5 people at a time. We like getting raw. It might happen for 2 or 3 days. I might have to bring in a couple of porn stars because I can't really keep up. Besides, I'm more of a director kind of guy. I kind of like to masturbate while I have my significant other double teamed by porn stars. But this is our lifestyle. This is how we show love. Well, it's all fun and games until you're tossing a 13-year-old back and forth, and then that goes out the window, right? And that is allegedly what happened in this, is that these people literally threw this kid back and forth to one another before assaulting her, making foul statements before they did. We've obviously got an issue, right? This is a pretty big issue. Now, if he pays for this, what happens is his name wouldn't have come out the way it just did, right? He didn't pay. Now his name has been released. This lawsuit had already been filed. I did a show on it. The lawsuit, if you're brand new on this, the lawsuit started like this. This young woman, she was a girl at the time, was trying to sneak into the Video Music Awards. And the way she was doing it was to hit up all of the limo drivers and saying, hey, is there any chance you can get me in? Can you get me backstage? Can you get me through the door? And all of them said no, of course. And allegedly, when she got to Diddy's driver, he said, no, I can't get you in, but I can give you a ride to the after party, right? And by the way, the diddler is a real fan of girls your age. And she did what a lot of girls her age would have done. It sounds so bad now. We think, how could you be so stupid? But this is 2024, right? 20 some odd years ago at the VMAs, this guy was a philanthropist. This guy was hooking up the black community. He was making the earth a better place and a safer place. And he was really blah, blah, blah. But she got there and they asked her to sign a non-disclosure agreement because at 13, those legal things, there's no problem there, right? Obviously, there was no way that they could hold a child to a contract that somebody signed without parental consent or any such stuff. Roberta says, why did they wait so long to file a lawsuit? Now, if you mean, why did this young woman wait since the turn of the century to file? My answer to that would be, I don't know. I had sexual contact with an adult when I was a child. And I didn't tell people about it until I was 46. Right? That's when I felt like I could. There were a bunch of people that knew, but the narrative, because there was a woman, the narrative was I scored kind of a thing. And I couldn't talk about it to the people that I loved. I think that a lot of these people don't come forward because this is the most horrific thing that has ever happened to them. And then on top of that, they believe this person will kill them. I'm sorry. I believe that. And we know, right, from now being, a lot of us are so immersed in the Diddyverse now that we realize that for 3 decades, everybody's been talking about this guy, right? And how many people have assumed for decades that Biggie and that Tupac and that Kim Porter, all of these people who met untimely deaths, how many people out there believe, guess what? Guess what? Diddy did this. Diddy wants you removed from the planet. He'll remove you from the planet. Diddy will do whatever he wants and not get caught. And you can sit and think, I don't know. Come on, that's a little illogical, isn't it? Well, is it? Is it? This is the 2000, allegedly. This is the 2000 VMAs. What happened the year before the 2000 VMAs? Huh? He shot our friend in the face, right? Natanya Rubin. He shot her in the face, allegedly, at a nightclub in New York. And he walked, right? He walked. When he was in just getting ready to drop out of college, he threw that basketball. There's going to be all of these rap stars. You can watch them play basketball, right? Have a good time. Well, 9 people died there. 9. If you were somebody who had been assaulted by this dude, do you think you would have all kinds of, huh? I don't think you would. Once people start coming forward, once Busby can convince people, and if you've ever called the 1-800 number that he has, their job is to convince you that, you know what, we can protect you. You're going to get justice. We're going to allow you to do it as a Jane Doe or a John Doe. We're going to do everything we can so that you can get justice. Now, when there's 20 people coming forward, you don't feel like, you know what, you're the only person that he ever did this to. No one's ever going to believe you. You know, now we know of 120 people, right? Now, all of these people are like, oh, hell yeah. 4 more people come out tomorrow. You're going to be this surprised? Huh? You're not. But if you're a victim of Sean Combs and no one has ever come forward, you're looking at a guy worth $1 billion, right? And this happened to you when you were 13. They don't believe that anyone's going to believe them. And you know what else? Half of the people that Busby is representing, half of them went to the police. Allegedly, the guy that got assaulted in the Macy's storeroom, he went and talked to everybody he could. And what did they say? You're fired. Get out of New York. Pack your stuff up and leave. You got forced to perform oral sex on a guy while 4 other guys watched and laughed at you and made racial, comments about how you were enjoying this kind of treatment. And when he went and reported it, he got fired for it. This is what is alleged. This was an adult. This is a grown man. How do you think a 13-year-old girl felt? It's got to be a really tough thing for her. Every lie has an expiration date. What a great damn, that ought to be on a t-shirt, man. No, Miss Dragon. I love getting a good, funny text while I'm live. You did great. Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Do you think any uniforms are going to be held accountable? No, I don't. No, I don't. You know why? I'll tell you why I don't think that. There's a report that has recently come out to talk about pew-pews. It's mother-loving astounding how many times people in uniform seize things like that from me, right? And I said that you may never get it back, right? If your stuff, let's say I get caught with 9 pew-pews that belong to somebody else at some point. They trace the serial numbers. They find out they're theirs. Do you think that means you're getting them back? Because it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting them back, right? This is a very strange, it's a very strange thing. But this report is now saying that these seized pew-pews, they end up back on the street. Tons of them. Tons of them. In the report, you know what they said? We don't really like arresting officers for stuff like this. No, you don't like arresting officers. Sorry, but you don't. And This is an epidemic. You can Google this. I'm going to be doing a show on it, but you can Google this. The number of confiscated weapons that get sold illegally back onto the street. And now I don't want you to get an image in your head of a back alley with a cop swinging pew-pews, right, to crack dealers and stuff to go do dirt. It's not like that. But they'll bring them to gun shows and they'll take them to places like that. And then these things end up back on the street. Why are the officers that did this not going to prison for the rest of their lives? Well, they have badges. I'll tell you something. My entire life, I have heard, I can't tell you how many times, well, it's your word against his. You're a criminal. He's an officer of the law. I'm sunk. Plain and simple, I'm sunk. That's how it works. And you can't really expect anything else, right? Sadly, you can't. The police do protect each other every day. There is no mistaking that. And I'm sorry that that's the case, but how's that? Would you like a little bit of perspective on this? Do you know what would happen if Tommy Scoville got caught with a machine weapon? I would never get out, ever. What that does, the crime is 924C. That is possession of a pew-pew by a felon, right? Now it comes in two varieties. One of them is called a 912. That just means it was laying in your house and you shouldn't have had it. It's dusty. It's on a shelf. They find out that you got it. It's hanging on the wall, right? Your grandfather gave it to you and you got the kind that you hunt birds with hanging on your wall. They see it. They charge you. You're going to get a 912. A 924 means that you're committing crimes and you happen to have these things laying around, right? But if you have an enhancement on your 924 where some of the pew-pews you have are fully auto, you're getting about 25 years apiece for them is usually the way that goes down. So you got 90 of those puppies, somebody ought to be doing 25 years apiece on those. However, you got a badge. It's the thin blue line is alive and well. And I'm hoping against hope. Hey, short note, good to see you. I'm hoping against hope that this is another thing that changes, right? Now, do we know it's going to? We don't. But let's hope that this is another thing that changes. I am really looking forward. I'm sorry, I am. I'm really looking forward to seeing Sean Carter have to answer to this. I'm going to read you something that makes me sick real quick, and you can tell me what you think. He finishes with, "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these crimes and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence." Well, that's odd. There's 292 of us here, and that's just what we're doing too, Jay-Z. Huh? We're mourning the loss of innocence too. Did it for a little different reason, right? This person's loss of innocence came at your hands, allegedly, right? Allegedly. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. Can you imagine the nutsack? I'm sorry. Can you imagine the onions that you got to have to write that? Even if you're innocent, how tone deaf do you have to be to say, my poor little girl, the loss of innocence? It is alleged that you took a 13-year-old and gang-ard her with a friend of yours. You want to talk about loss of innocence? That is the attempted murder of a soul. It is. If you do it one-on-one, it is the attempted murder of a soul. You do it with a partner and a third person watching? I've been told recently by a very close friend that I shouldn't say things like they ought to get the chair for that because they demonetize for it. I've been demonetized a few times lately, and I've been asking people why. And that's apparently one of the things. I shouldn't say stuff like, these people ought to be tossed off a bridge. Apparently, the big red button has a problem with that. I don't know that I can not say that. This is the most tone-deaf thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You're going to talk to us about, I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such things at their young age. If it is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirit. How do you think it is for a 13-year-old who's assaulted by two grown men. Huh? How about that loss of innocence? How about that mother love and malice? You think this girl shook this off at 16? It doesn't happen. There are so many survivors in this audience that will tell you that that's not how it happens. You're going to be a grown human being in your 50s, right? Having problems with this or that in your life, and it's going to stem back to what happened to you one night when you tried to sneak into the Video Music Awards. I hope that this young woman, she's still a young woman, I hope that this young woman gets paid. And I hope that this is the beginning of the truth. I hope that this is the start of us seeing more names. Who's the third person, says Kathy Wright? That's a great question. Jay-Z said the same thing that Ashton Kutcher's wife, when she said they were sorry for victims, but didn't mention the Jane Does. That really is an excellent observation. It really is the same thing, isn't it? You're going to come out and say, oh, poor victims, this and that. There are victims that you are literally peeing on the memory of with these stupid letters you're writing. Tone deafness. This is as bad as I've ever seen, though. Honest to God, this is as bad as I've. Do you know that I have a daughter that is getting to the age where this is going to be hard on her? Holy hell. These people live in worlds. Even if you were innocent of this, you would be smart enough to not make a statement like this. Honestly, this isn't rocket science. I would like to categorically deny all of the allegations that people have just accused me of. This never happened. It's that simple. Sadly, this may be about money. I'm not sure what it's about. More than likely, it's because my best friend's a dirtbag who's sitting in MDC Brooklyn with 120 people that have accused him of the same kind of crimes. It may be guilt by association. How do you not mention Diddy's name in this letter? You tone deaf, no chromosome. I mean, we're really honestly, it's remarkable how tone deaf you have to be to make this statement. My heart bleeds for the person who alleges that I did this, but I wasn't a part of it. How hard is that? I mean, that's what an innocent person would say, would they not? Huh? Marines are coming out in support of fellow Marines Tony Busby. Well, they should be. They should be. I want to tell you something, people. Guess what? We live in a world where people like Sean Combs have to be defended. Now, you can hate his lawyer for doing his job, but we live in a world where everybody needs a defense, right? We do. We live in a world where unfortunate things happen to good people, where really awful things happen to good people, and when really fantastic things happen to really awful people. Look at Sean Combs and the life that he has led up to this point. His own jets, right? $100,000 to get it off the ground and go wherever you're going. And money means that little to you that you're not going to get to fly first class like some peasant, right? He lived like an emperor. You know, the most beautiful partners in the world, apparently on both men and women. And that's not enough. You then have to go out and use chemicals to assault people and film it. Everything you could ever want was laid in front of these people, and what they wanted instead was to hurt other individuals. They wanted to steal joy. It's amazing that he's got the balls to talk about meant to destroy families and human spirit. You think the essaying of a 13-year-old doesn't do some damage to the human spirit? Holy hell, man. Holy hell, man. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm sorry. This is it. Jay-Z's declaration in any way, shape, or form what an innocent man would say. And personally, I don't believe it is the only R he's done in his life. Pay attention, everybody. People who R-word continue to R-word, right? A guy can rob a bank and quit. I promise. Or rob 20 of them or quit or whatever the case may be. But you can get to the end of your career. You can be a criminal that goes, I'm not going to commit crime anymore. I deal drugs. I'm done dealing drugs. I'm not going to sell drugs anymore, right? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to be a bookie. I'm not going to be. You can't say I'm not going to be an R-wordist. Those people do that because they do that. And they never, ever is there an outlier. It's never a case of somebody that did one. unless they got caught after the first one, right? Unless they got caught after the first one. But I remember hearing Jaguar Wright say, Sean Carter is way worse than Sean Combs. He's just more patient. He's smarter. That's what Jag said. And until you can prove Jag wrong on stuff, I am going to listen to Jag. I started out in this game doubting her, and she's been hitting it out of the park since. I'm not gonna go that route. How long before we see an arrest of Jay-Z? Well, here's the really great question on this, right? Because right now, I want you to think about this as his Cassie Ventura. Wood chipper, says Lisa Trimble. And what she means is she's got some trees down. You know, they had that big thing in Florida. And now he needs to put those through a wood chipper with Mr. Carter and Mr. Combs. Aha! Now, the Jay-Z arrest, this is if this case that we're talking about right now, right? If this Jane Doe from Atlanta, if that case gets turned over to the feds, very much the way I believe the case with Cassie was turned over to the feds, we know that her lawsuit and their case against Sean Combs is almost identical. It's got a little bit of help in there from the research they've done and from Little Rod's lawsuit, but I think we're in a similar situation. I think that this is we know from my source we have some superseding indictments coming. My source says because of the questions that have been asked, it's very obvious that there is a minor involved in one of these superseding indictments. This might be it. If that's the case, he's done. If this is going to be a superseding indictment where they're going to hit Sean Combs with underage R word, again, effectively destroying the defense of we're all just into it. Kids can't be into it. People that are assayed because of chemicals can't be into it. Someone who you say, yeah, we're going to go do this. And if you do, I'm going to make you rich. That's not consent. May not make sense to some people because you guys keep sending me emails about it. And I do say you guys, I don't think there's any women that are sending me those emails. I think that primarily it's guys. You can't consent unless you're on an even playing field. The best example of this, and then just extrapolate it back. This is the hyperbolic over the top. But a guy comes into your into your prison cell and says, hey, I know you don't like guys, but if you let me do this, this, and this to you, I'll let you out of prison. If the guy says yes, would that be consent? Of course not, right? Of course not. However, that's a very extreme case of the exact same situation. Wow. You know what, Arwa? I'm so sorry, but thank you for having the strength to share this. I asked my abuser once if he's continuing to do stuff to other girls. Yes, girls. I was 16 when I asked. After 2 years, I must have been too old for him. Well, you know what? That is absolutely. This is why we keep saying stuff like they're not rehabbing these people. They're not rehabbing these people. This is what happens. All of a sudden, the person's too old for that wheelhouse. What flips their switch is hurting kids. Sorry. In their head, it may not be, but that is what is flipping their switch. Mother Bird, you nailed it. Mother Bird nailed it. There's no chance in hell that Busby doesn't roll out with this if there's not a hell of a lot of evidence, right? He wasn't going to release Jay-Z's name if he didn't have enough to nail this dude to the floor. If the case gets turned over to the feds, do you think Jay-Z will turn himself in like Diddy? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I'll tell you why. He's got a shot, right? If this is the charge against him, and it's the only charge against him, and it won't be. When he gets locked up, people will come out of the woodwork, same way they did. When they're not afraid of him, they don't think he can call a hit. Debbie Blair says you can't rehab these animals. You can't. Although I am of the firm belief that 130 grains of lead has been known to cure that. So I believe I've been kind of vocal about this. I believe that the people that ended up putting him in, you're right, crucial flow. You're absolutely right. There is no such thing as consensual stuff behind bars, especially if one of the people is staff. It can't be consensual. It can't. That dynamic skews all of that. There are things that Jaguar, I would like to sit in the room, just me and Jag alone, right? No recording devices, no nothing, so that she can answer questions. Because I need questions answered that I know she can't answer, right? And you know which one it is. You know the one that drives me nuts. I want to know who he was doing the thumbs up or thumbs down for. You know, she said they put me in a position where I could do. Who's they? I need to know who they are. It's probably but this is it. Just a lot of what she says. I think she says the way she says it intentionally protects you a bit, doesn't it? Will Beyonce be questioned if and when Jay-Z turns himself in? Now we're assuming this is a big assumption. We're assuming that this is going to. I can't begin to tell you how hard it is to prosecute a 20-year-old R case. Really hard. It's also really hard to defend, right? I mean, holy hell, how do you defend yourself from something that happened 20 years ago? So they are loath to take these cases for that reason. You're going to put somebody through the hell of going to trial over an essay with this much time and water under the bridge that may not win. So the burden of proof in a civil case is the preponderance of evidence. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. So there are two different thresholds. There's two different, it's considerably easier to get a win civilly. Is that justice? Probably not. But if she wins a lawsuit against him, it's going to be, in my opinion, like the Conor McGregor case. Conor McGregor's not getting sent away for this, but he's losing a hell of a lot of money, and he's losing a hell of a lot of fans. He's losing a hell of a lot of people who thought he was something that he obviously is not, in my opinion. In my opinion. Lawsuits will fly against Jay-Z. Well, Mother Bird, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. Correct. Elaine says, even if he's not criminally charged, he is done. Nobody's going to touch him with a 10-foot pole. And let's see how the National Football League feels about him. After 20 years, there's not going to be any evidence that's going to tie him to this other than her word. For real. That's going to be what it is. Now, where is the other, the question earlier was, where is the other celebrity? The other celebrity could be Aaliyah. And if it is, she's no longer with us. Hey, V-Bombs, good to see you from New York. We know the timeline for Diddy and Beyonce, right? So this wouldn't have been Beyonce that was in the room with him. We also are assuming that this is somebody that would have been with Jay-Z. How do we know it isn't Jenny from the block? For real. That's who Sean Combs took to the after party. That's who he went to the award show with. How do we know it wasn't Jenny from the block in there with him and old Jay-Z? Yes. Now, there is absolutely going to be things like medical records and police reports. There are going to be. Not necessarily on this one. I can't swear to that yet. But so many of these people sought medical attention after these events. So many of these people went to the authorities after these events. That is the worst part of all of this. Yes, we talked about this, Lisa Tex Gal. The Texas gal. Yeah. What did I say? Luigi Mangione is the name of the suspect that they have in custody. A person of interest who just happened to be carrying a manifesto about people in that line of work. He also happened to be carrying fake IDs that looked identical to the fake IDs that have already been used in the past to check into the hostel, to get on the bus, to do all these things. He also had a pew-pew with him. Keeping in mind, this is a ghost piece, so it was built, and it is unique. It is a knockoff of the weapon that I was talking about. And the mechanism, everything is different about it. What about the tapes we keep hearing about? Well, there is absolutely, there are tapes. We know, Claudia, that they took 9 devices of Sean Combs. Off of those 9 devices, they pulled, what was it? No, it was 8 devices. Off of 8 devices, they pulled 90 terabytes of info. There's a lot of video. There's a lot of audio. There's a lot of everything. Why do they call it the SHU? They spell it with a U instead of an OE. It is an acronym for Segregated Housing Unit, right? There are, and you have 2 different kinds of segregated housing units in the SHU. You have administrative segregation and you have disciplinary segregation, or as the fellows call it, ADSEG and DISSEG. And if you're in DISSEG, you're in trouble. ADSEG, they might put you back there because you're going to the hospital the next day and they want to make sure that you don't eat something before your test or your whatever. They can put you in there for administratively segregating you from other people. Technically, Sean Combs is in ADSEG. He's not in DISSEG. He's not in there for being disciplined. He's in there because he's famous and he'll get his butt kicked. Yes, Daniel Penny was found not guilty, Roberta. You got to be happy about that. By the way, everybody, the judge threw him a bone. All of the people that were complaining about the judge, I can't believe that they're sending him back and saying he didn't want this kid retried, this young man. He didn't want him retried. This judge got this guy that verdict. And he got that verdict by saying, congrats, Jonesy. Trophy, trophy, trophy. It does get better. Jonesy, I promise you, it gets better. And the longer you do it, the better it's going to get. That is, everybody here can swear to you on a stack of Bibles, Jonesy. It just keeps getting better every single day. I'm not joking you. I hate going to bed. And I love getting up in the morning. And there was never a time in my life where I thought I would be excited to get out of bed. Ever. I thought for sure for the rest of my life, every time I opened, my first thought was going to be, I got to come up with $750 to get through today. I got to come up with $750 to feed my arm. And it'll be a decade in June. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. But congratulations. That is awesome. It really is. It is awesome. Dirty Mouse, good to see you. Yeah. So right now, he's in administrative segregation. He's being segregated away from everybody else for his own protection. That's administrative segregation. That's not disciplinary segregation. You get in a fist fight, they send you to the segregated housing unit. You're in DISSEG. Then you lose good time and there's all kinds of other stuff. He's in an odd situation because we talk about Diddy being in prison. He's not. He's in a county jail. But the weird thing about the county jail is it's owned by the federal government. This is a federal prison, but it houses people waiting to go to trial and people doing sentences under 1 year. There are misdemeanor federal offenses. If you deface, like the guys that went into southern Utah and spray painted all of those arches and things, right? They had to go in and pressure wash them and get them clean. The guys that did that went to federal prison. They didn't get more than a year, but they still had to go do federal jail time. You know what? What a great way to say it. Sobriety is worth the pain. It really is, man. It really is. And the day is coming. Where you will open your eyes in the morning and you'll go, oh, God, what a great day to be alive. I never thought that was possible, man. Do I think that Trump will really release the Epstein tapes? You know, I can't even weigh in on that without half of the people here hating me. It's just we live in that kind of world these days where a lot of people get real bummed out about anything that has to do with that man and that guy's name. So this may bum you out. I do believe that he's going to release that. I really do. I think the guys wanted to drain the swamp. You can hate me for that, but I do believe that he's not part of this establishment. That's why both Republicans and Democrats seem to hate him. Oh, the bearded lady. What a kind thing to say. Thank you. But the reason that I can entertain you with that is because watches are truly fascinating. They are the greatest things on planet Earth. Nothing is more fascinating than a wristwatch, unless by some chance that wristwatch has tons of different things it can do, like a chrono or going on almost 3 years clean off of Fenty and smack. Congratulations, Dead Cell. That is epic. Tampa B, good to see you. And that is not an easy thing. I happen to know what it's like to kick those substances. And they happen to be the toughest ones out there. Go ahead. Yeah, Johnny Scoville says, mean it. He's also kicked opiates on more than one occasion. You had FOMO about this live. I love that, Kathy. There's also should be some FOMO coming because I am going to be doing the Sean Atwood program. You don't want to miss that. That is going to be 2 hours of all Jay-Z all the time. That's not probably true. We will more than likely mention his hideous wife too. You know the witch. Come on, you know she is. Corner 3. If you don't believe Beyonce's a witch, you have every right. I, however, believe she's a witch. And I don't mean a mean person. I mean a freaking, witch. Don't forget the cheesecake, Tommy. That was for Beyonce in the year 2000, which shows she was a nasty person making those kids do something horrible for her. Same year, so she was definitely around him. No, she was. Absolutely, they were together in 2000. What you can't find is a lot of pictures of them on the VMA night. You can't. I mean, I've been looking since before Jay-Z got popped. When this young woman, she's in her 30s now, when this young woman came out and said, this happened to me at the 2000 VMAs, I started to go into Getty Images and I just started peeling through every picture I could look at, about 20,000 of them. And you're not catching a whole lot of Beyonce with Jay-Z at that point. That doesn't mean they weren't doing it. You're a couple and felt bad for missing Night Yard. Well, we can't have that. You can't have that. Yeah, I'm the creepiest thing about the Carter family to me is how many people thank them at every single award ceremony. Doesn't even matter what the awards are on. You know what I mean? I'd like to thank the Academy or I'd like to thank NASCAR for this award and of course Beyonce Knowles. What's up? Like, how is it that I don't know? It's just creepy. Yes, she did. And what it comes down to, Michelle, is this was a 13-year-old starstruck girl, right? And when you're 13 years old, the Video Music Awards, the prospect of being able to be inside. Yeah, Adele thanked her too. Everybody thanks her. I'm going to thank her at the end of the show. I'm afraid of Sean. He might sue me. Giggity. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, drive safely. Please be safe. Jay-Z is also into dark magic. Well, he sure as hell seems to wear a lot of clothing that'll make you believe that. Yes, Timothy Glass. I will be doing the Q episode today. Have no fear. It'll probably be later in the day because of what I'm doing on the Sean Atwood program. But I am absolutely today going to be making the announcements of what I want in the letters from you all and where you can send them. So that's coming. Aha! Aha! Pearl says, do you think this gives us an idea of what Solange attacked Sean Carter over in the elevator? Well, isn't that interesting? And here's another thing. He's not, let's say they do decide to take him to court. You're not going to RICO him. More than likely, he's probably not going to get RICO'd, although I could be wrong. But without RICO, bringing in prior bad acts is difficult. Unless maybe the whole world has already seen the prior bad act and you're not really going to be prejudicing anybody because who hasn't seen Solange trying to beat the crap out of Jay-Z in the elevator? I think just about everybody on planet Earth has seen that. What are the chances that J-Lo and Beyonce have clean hands? 10-1. 10-1. I don't think that a lot of people in this industry have clean hands. I don't, especially the ones at the top. You know, there are people, the rest of them are victims. All these rock stars that we wanted to be our entire life had to sign up to get sodomized in order to get their contracts. Can you imagine? God help us. Gangsters giving up their backside so they can have a recording contract. It's a pretty jacked up industry, man. Pretty jacked up industry. So what are the odds? Slim and none. I promise you. There's just no chance that if the only involvement is the knowledge and the culpability, but it isn't, right? It isn't. I drip and dirty. That's well put. I don't know that they will finally come out and say what happened to Uncle Ron. I'd like to believe so. I really would. I'd like to believe so. I'd like to believe that there's a lot that is going to come out. I think I just heard today that a bowl game here in Arizona is the Snoop Dogg Bowl. Let's hope we don't all regret that one. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Now, Nicole, I like Nicole. Nicole's always got a very level head on her shoulder. But Nicole makes a point that is solid as hell, right? This really is a solid point. Maybe J-Lo and Beyonce are victims too, right? We know to some extent that they both are. The question becomes, at what point do they become willing participants? Because allegedly they were wife swapping, right? Allegedly, Cassie was messing around with Jay-Z and Beyonce was messing around with, like, these freak-offs really pushed the envelope. Really, really pushed the envelope. And I'll tell you what, it really says a lot about their friendships. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a lot of really close friends. But I wouldn't let you take my girlfriend to lunch, much less do any of those kind of things. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but whatever the case may be. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think short note that it's just as skeezy, right, as Jimmy Seville was, but it's a bigger scale, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like you don't think of like how many people are involved in this. When we start to hear the stories, Will Smith, right? There's nobody in the Diddyverse that hasn't heard all of the Will Smith stories. Kids running from their house screaming, right? Him getting murdered in his dressing room, killing him, murdering him. You've heard those clips. And even if you haven't, I just like saying it because that one cracks me up. The Brother Bilal clip, I'm sorry, it shouldn't, but it makes me laugh. Do I still think that they're going to do the Crimbo special? The question's going to be, how does the NFL deal with it? They're usually not fans of any kind of controversy. You may remember old Hank Williams Jr. Bo Cephas got bounced out by them because he said some stuff about the presidential administration that was in office at that time. I think there's a good chance the NFL runs like hell. Yeah, something? I got some really sharp people here. Getting sober doesn't mean life becomes a bowl of cherries. No, it does not. It means dealing with life will be better and easier when the bumps show up. Congratulations. What a great way to say it. And it's probably the greatest thing that anybody could say about sobriety. There's a lot of people out there that tell you, and it's horrible because if you have an addiction of any kind, you tell yourself for a long time that if I just could eliminate the smack, my life would be perfect. If I could just get away from this, my life would be perfect. And then when that stuff goes, your life is never perfect. I spent 3 decades saying if I could just stop doing heroin, my life would be great. I stopped doing heroin and my life still sucked. But I learned the equipment necessary to get through those days that sucked without putting a needle in my arm. And that was the biggest thing about it. Each one of those bottles of baby oil represents thousands of people, period. I mean, that's why I try, honestly, to not do a lot of jokes. I mean, I'm a guy and we're all stupid, but I do everything within my power to not make jokes about that baby oil because it isn't funny. Every one of those bottles of baby oil represents so many people that got sodomized, right? Or worse, right? Or gang art or any of the things that they allegedly did with impunity. Whenever they wanted, they just assaulted people. It's just awful. I am going to be giving information today, Casey. I will be doing it tonight. I'll be giving you the email address and I will be giving some instructions. I will also be posting it up on the Lifeboat, but it will be later on this evening. So I am going to go get ready for my next show, people. I'm going to be busy today. I hope you stop over to the Sean Atwood program. I'm going to be there in about 2 hours, I believe. And I really do hope to catch all of you over there. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. And thank you for all of the support. I mean that. Between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor, reach out and try to save somebody. You're right, Tara Jackson. More of these victims were underage than older age, or so it seems, doesn't it? Disgusting.